Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Twilight Zone review. Today it is Season 5, Episode 20, From Agnes with Love, written by Bernard C. Schoenfeld and starring Wally Cox as James Elwood and Sue Randall as Millie. And this is a Twilight Zone comedy episode, and I just don't think it's very good. I don't think the concept of the episode is terrible. Maybe if it would have been done in a more serious manner, it would have worked. But as a comedy, it just falls flat for me. So, we start with our main character, Elwood, and we're introduced to Agnes, who we find out is a computer that has broken down. And Elwood immediately comes in a room where another man is sitting, and the man looks very broken, and Elwood fixes the computer just like that. The man then leaves the room and tells Elwood to watch out, that this computer, he calls it a femme fatale. So that's an interesting enough setup for our episode. So, in the next scene, Elwood is talking to our other main character, Millie, who we're introduced to, and you can tell that Elwood likes this lady, and he asks her out, and she kind of seems unsure at this point, but Elwood will keep trying, as we'll find out. We also learn how smart the computer Agnes really is in this scene. So, after a gift that Elwood tries to give Millie strikes out, this doesn't work at all. He keeps trying to go out with her, and he plans this date for the next night. And he has this brilliant idea to ask the computer Agnes for advice, because as we'll find out, this guy is very naive. Now, I have to say, every time that Agnes gives a response, it's done like with these title cards, which is kind of amusing for about 5 minutes, and then to me it got very old and very dull quickly. Maybe they should have tried to give the computer a voice, a speaking voice. I personally think that might have worked better. So anyway, the computer does give Elwood advice, but it is, we know as an audience, it's bad advice right away, and that's part of the problem with the episode. I think Elwood's a little too naive. I know he's not supposed to be an expert with ladies or anything like that, but this guy's really pretty gullible at this point. I think that's a good word for it. So he takes this bad advice to take Millie back to his apartment and to be reckless and aggressive. So we go on this date with Elwood, and he's pretty much ignoring Millie. He's reading some scientific book, and she tries to get him to dance, and he's not very good at it. And then he tries to open some champagne, and he spills it all over Millie. So this guy, Elwood, really does have some dating issues, I would say. So Agnes wants info on the date, on how it went, and Elwood says it went poorly, and now Agnes says send Millie some flowers, but it turns out that Millie is allergic to the roses that Elwood sends, so another epic fail for Mr. Elwood. So the computer's now telling him there's another girl that's better for you, and we know by this point that it's the computer itself, which it's pretty obvious, but the humor here just doesn't really work. And we go to the next scene, and Agnes is really even more questioning, wants to know what's going on with him and Millie, and she tells him that he should introduce Millie to another guy, and it will make him look better. Now, of course, this guy that Agnes picks is someone that she feels will hit it off with Millie right away, and of course this does happen. The guy's name is Walter, and when he and Millie are introduced, they immediately hit it off. And they start ignoring Elwood, basically, who has to go back to the office. And we can now see that Walter and Millie will be a couple. So Elwood's back with Agnes, and Agnes asks him what happens. And he finally questions Agnes. He says, why are you giving me the advice you are? And then the boss comes in, and the computer starts giving weird responses to everything that really don't make any sense. So Elwood goes back and asks Walter for help, but he's still on the date with Millie, and he says maybe tomorrow. So Elwood is basically stuck, with nothing to do. So he asks Agnes why again, and Agnes says, I love you, straight out, and Elwood really loses it. We find out he's pretty much snapped. So the boss brings Walter in the next day, and Walter is now going to have to work with Agnes, and Elwood leaves laughing and tells him you basically have no chance. So basically it looks like the cycle's going to start again. There's really not much more to this episode than that. Like I said, if they would have went maybe a darker, more dramatic route, this could have been interesting and ahead of its time. But it just comes across as fairly dated and not very funny. So overall, I'm going to give From Agnes with Love a 1.5 out of 5. It's just kind of a pointless episode. It's not the worst ever Twilight Zone episode, but you don't need to watch it unless you're watching every single episode. So 1.5 out of 5 for From Agnes with Love, and as always, thank you very much for watching.